Welcome to Sports Management Podcast, where you will hear interesting sports management professionals share their stories, experiences, and passion for the sports management industry. I am your host, Marcus Philipsson. Welcome to episode 89 of Sports Management Podcast. Before we start, I just want to ask you all for a very small favor. If you like this podcast, please subscribe to it on Spotify and Apple and give it a 5-star rating. It would help me very much in getting it visible to more people out there. Thank you. And as always, we are sponsored by InSport Education, the online business school for sport. For 2023, they have created some amazing new courses and modules. As always, you get 10% off all courses, programs, and modules with the code Sports Management Podcast 10. The link is in the show notes. Now, today's guest is Amir Zonozi, the president and co-founder of Zoomph. Zoomph is a sponsorship analytics firm who helps sports and esports teams, leagues, brands, and agencies connect with their audiences across social media, creating data-driven partnerships. Get ready to learn why you have to be an idiot not to be excited about women's sports, how to track sports sponsorships, Amir's involvement with WIST and Sports Innovation Lab, getting shut down by the FBI, and much more. Amir Zonozi, welcome to Sports Management Podcast.
Marcus, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
I am really excited to talk to you. You are the president and co-founder of Zoomph. So can you tell us a little bit about the company and what you do there?
Yeah, no, appreciate it. So what we do is we help brands sort of understand the value of their exposure with the partnerships across sports, entertainment, esports, gaming. And so we look at their media content. We primarily started with social. Now we're in broadcast, capture all this. What makes us unique is we also go into consumer insights. So the quality of the audience that's interacting with it, we believe is important. No impressions created equal, no engagement created equal. So you can get your niche audiences and sort of interact with it. There's a ton of value there. My role over the years, I've worn a lot of hats being a co-founder. Less hair under those hats with each year too, and more gray hair as well. And it's great that I can fire myself from certain roles because we bring in these amazing people to help and grow our team. But my role really is I'm customer success for our company. Whatever will help our teammates grow and achieve the objectives and goals that they have, I move the obstacles out of their way. And I ask them to keep me well aware of like what their goals and aspirations are so that I'm always thinking of them and make sure that Zoomph is a place where they can thrive. So we look for people that have a chip on their shoulder, people that have been looking for an opportunity to do what they do. They roll their eyes when I say this, but we want to put gazelles in grassy fields and watch them run. And so, that's the aspect of Lens that I do. But day to day, it's just the operations, working with our sales team, growing the organization, working with our product team, making sure that our product is bringing value to our customers. Very lucky to do what we do and who we do it with. It's the opportunity of a lifetime, especially with where we are today and where sports is going. One thing we've been a big component of is sports is not the product, it's the platform. And it's the opportunity for to create branded moments and exposure to fans because of how passionate fans are. I mean, people get tattoos of these logos. These are made up teams, right? At the end of the day, and designs have changed over years, but they're that's how connected people are. It's stronger than some people's relationship with the religion. And so to be a part of that moment, to be where fans are and where they have that energy and emotions being expressed and connecting brands in those moments, it's we feel like we're like Match.com and those kind of like components, like a relationship builder, and then understanding like what that value is at the end of the day. So it's really lucky to do what we do and who we do it with.
Yeah, and the sports industry is fantastic, and that's why we're working in it, right? But you said with the sponsorships, you're doing sponsorships analytics to help firms in sports and esports. Of course, you need to understand the value of a sponsorship. Is it many companies that they don't really follow up on that and see how successful they are and how they can optimize their sponsorships?
So great question. I think this is something that's shifting and changing like sort of as we're speaking. And the pandemic was a major catalyst that kind of changed the way how people thought about this. Especially in the past, like I feel that brands usually were taking data from the teams and accepting it as is. There's a sort of a notion of The kids can't grade their own quizzes anymore. We want to leverage and know our data and understand and benchmark across our different portfolio assets, how we're all doing. On the team side, there's also this component of and trend that I look at these creative teams that work under them as specialists, sort of like agencies of specializing in how to deliver content to their fan base within their market, and they're creating digital content as a result. And so, we look at attention as currency, content as commerce, and an audience as an asset, and how we can best understand what these fans are looking for and how they fan as a verb, right? And connecting to those moments. So not every fandom or group is the same, right? Each audience has a story to tell. If we can provide niche segments or segment the fan base in different ways to understand what is their personal connection to this moment and what brands matter to them, and then highlight that back. So it's not only to measure the performance to relationships that you already have, but looking at your fan base and sort of flipping the model backwards. Because a lot of these organizations, they spray and pray and they go out and sell because they have to, right? Like they want to go and bring partners in to support the amazing experience that they provide. But what if we looked at the fan base and said, what existing relationships are already here? What can we do to say these brands already have a relationship with our fans? How do we make this moment bigger? How do we make this experience stronger? And that connection between them. And so, a lot of people are listening to this, they can't see this. I'm doing a very terrible overlap, right? A Venn diagram. And we look at that percentage in the middle and it's say like, okay, if you're followers of the Warriors and you're BMW, what is that overlap? Who is the favorite athlete on that team for BMW followers? And so it's a different way that previously we haven't really seen in this space of like how we're sort of like helping the conversation, and not only helps on the partnership relationship being formed or measuring the performance of it, but also helps inform the content strategy in like what aspects do this audience already, are they dog lovers? Are they into sustainability? What are things that we can highlight in our content series that would speak to this audience and really, they might not realize it, but this content was engineered for them to love, if that kind of makes sense. And so we play a role in that. And it's all been shifting, and we're seeing brands want more from the digital content creation aspect of the relationship that they have with teams, because nothing's stronger than somebody else talking about you. If you talk about yourself, it's like, okay, yeah, of course you're the best. But if you have a relationship and you're doing storytelling and you're within the narrative and it makes sense why you're in this moment and what the role you play within that story in the experience of the fan, that relationship gets formed in the heuristics, the shortcuts that your brain makes. And that is very hard for brand recall to erase, right? And so we go with that aspect and that lens into this conversation. And we typically find that not a lot of people have previously really focused on it on the way that we do. And that's helped us grow to where we are today, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. And what I'm taking away from that also is that it's really important for teams and brands to know their fan bases. As you said, for example, if they are dog lovers, but how do they best do this? Work with their CRM, or like, how do you know that, for example, 70% of your fan base are women? Maybe you then a partnership on, I don't know, a women's product of some sort, or do they love cars? How do you work to get that information from your fan base?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So one, there's the aspect of first-party data that you can have with your CRM, getting information that's consented from your fan base that they're sharing with you. And there's a number of ways of gleaning these insights. There's surveys, there's, and aspects of it. Our way of sort of doing this is we're looking at the social media conversation of it. So we're not necessarily asking the question. We've got 350 million profiles across social media in our database. And we've essentially done this in the most non-creepy way possible. So Marcus and Amir, they might both follow the Washington Capitals, right? Just as an example, got to talk about Ovi, right? He's having such an amazing season. So if we both follow them, we take the insights not from necessarily Marcus alone and Amir alone, but we're looking at it at an aggregate. So we can do things where we say, for example, my bio, it says rookie dad, lucky husband. Because I'm a dad, that I'm a parent. Because I'm a husband, I say husband, that that I'm married. And now it's not as simple as that. We could go into like much, if you're talking about Dow and Coinbase and Michael Saylor, then you might have an affinity for Web3 and NFTs. if you follow 10 different breweries and talk about IPAs, and you follow apps that are around beer tasting apps, then we can, infer that you have an affinity towards craft beer. And so we take this information through the actions that they express online, whether it's verbal or nonverbal. And then we create these sort of footprints. And if fans fall within that footprint, that'll give us an inference of affinity towards that relationship, whether it's a brand. So we've kind of put 800 or 900 different definitions, I don't know the count today, of like how we segment our fans. And as new categories evolve and drop, for example, a couple of years ago, there was the seltzer craze, with these alcoholic seltzer drinks. To go and survey a bunch of people and like get that information. Historically, it took like months and months. We can very quickly see if you follow those brands, if you're talking about it, if you're posting it, if I'm holding, a drink up in my photo when I'm taking it, we can use AI to capture the object that is being displayed within it. And so we're doing this in a privacy conscious way of amassing these data points and understanding what relationships that are pre-existing there to help put that story together. And then we allow people to sort of look at their fan base versus other teams. So if I'm the Golden State Warriors and I want to understand how am I doing against other organizations, or what makes my audience unique against every other organization in California that's within sports or within my market, San Francisco Bay Area, there's ways that we can do that. Now, because every audience is unique, there's different partnerships that make sense as a result to it. So we sort of take this new approach to it. Certainly agree that you should do surveys, agree that you should do CRM information and understand and mine that data, ticketing data, all that sort of information that you can do to glean insights from. Our lens just allows us to pull from this. And look, 1% of your fan base is going to walk through the doors of the stadium, right? Like sports, a lot of these properties, there's a global audience that might never experience that in person. And I'm not there to take away from it. What we're trying to inform companies and sports teams to think like is less like an event company, but more like a media company, and understanding like when this content is being displayed, how can you create long form content like the New York Giants are doing with the Eli Manning show on YouTube that is meant to expose fans that might not necessarily be going to East Rutherford to the stadium itself, but being able to engage within some sort of way globally through that. So great question, but you're absolutely right. You have to know more about your fans, and you have to understand what exactly brings them to it and what their experience is, whether it's on social media and creating content or sending emails and making a case. Like Amir, that has 3 boys under 5, is a different experience than Amir with his boys at 25 going to the game. It's totally different journey that we're going after and outcomes that we're looking for and moments that we're looking to fan around. And so we try to establish that difference. And at the same time, we can look at the performance of like what's working and not working as a result of it, or what audience is really engaged with this content series versus other ones. But we feel that, there's so much more that could be done on the platform of sports in general through that relationship that's formed. And then the last thing I'll kind of go into this is there's other factors that are tailwinds that are happening across the industry. You look at what Apple has done with iOS 15 and 16. Typically, a lot of information was gleaned off cookies and web traffic and like what people were going to. Well, Tim Cook is like, no, we're not doing that anymore. You're cut off Facebook. You're cut off Twitter. You're cut off these social platforms. Their ads are not as strong as they used to be. It's the creepy data that allowed them to be as strong as they used to be is not available as it used to be. That might be a poor way to kind of frame it to our friends out there on the social media platforms, but they're not able to resonate and be as relative as they once were. And so if you're a brand looking to engage, what better opportunity is there than the last real-time appointment-based viewing experience that there is today, sports? And so those are the largest audiences that you can amass to get in front of. And so we're seeing more and more new brands, new companies come into sponsorship, taking advantage of that relationship and connection and size and reach that they're able to get through these experiences. So there's a lot of things happening at once, but we see sports growing as a platform, and then the content and the creators behind the handles. There's more and more being opportunities of hiring people to express this digital component and relationship through the content that they're creating. So it's a very exciting time to be in our space right now, specifically on the creator side, specifically on the insight side, specifically on the partnership side. that all of those are growing very quickly as roles within organizations, within teams, and on the brands.
Yeah, definitely. It's very interesting time indeed. And as you said, like very interesting how you capture this type of connection. So, what are your interests? You have three chants or you follow a lot of breweries, and then you make that digital footprint to inform the brands and then connect them to a sponsorship. My question now is, when you have that sponsorship and you measure the success of that, you see, is that successful or not? What is it that you measure? Is it engagement? Is it financial ROI? Or what are the pillars that you measure upon?
Yeah, no, that's great. So any organization that works with a sport team is going to have different operatives or different objectives to hit and why they come to activate with a sports team. It might be HR focused and employee morale, take our employees to the game and give them a great experience. It might be sales focused, where I'm a B2B machine learning company. I'm Oracle, right? And I want to take my CTOs and CIOs from different businesses to experience and pitch them during the game. Or it might be your SoFi and you want people to know who the hell you are, or your Truist, that SunTrust Bank and BB&T merge, and now you have to reintroduce to yourself to your audience. And you want that name recognition. So there's a number of reasons why these teams, organizations come to sports and leverage those relationships. We do a couple of things. We look at the media and content that's being generated as a result from these teams, and we're looking at the brand exposure that's happening. So essentially, in layman's terms, we calculate, like, what is the value of the performance if you had to generate this through ads? And so we're taking that ad equivalency value in order to provide the sponsor or social value. And so, hey, I got 7 million views. This is worth $10,000. That's your social value. Now, the brand might say, look, Marcus, I love that report, but I was only there for 3 seconds of that 2-minute video. There's no way you're going to tell me that that was worth $10,000 to me. That's obscene, right? So we're leveraging AI, and we do a number of models across the content to look for brand, to look for asset. So is it on a shoe? Is it on an LED screen? Is it on the basketball stanchion? Is it on the hockey stick itself? Like, we're looking at the assets that it's combined with, and we do auto attribution. So there used to be, no joke, people with stopwatches and interns, kind of counting the exposure time of like what they're kind of seeing through video content, stuff like that. We're essentially providing ones and zeros across all the social media content and now linear broadcast, and being able to connect that full story of like, what was the value of this exposure of this asset expressed through these platforms? And so that's one, the ROI financially that we're able to provide back to them. And then two, are we growing, and is there brand lift, or what is the affinity towards the relationship with the team? So back to that terrible Venn diagram, like that middle percentage, is that getting bigger over time as a result of the activations that you're doing or not? Or are you actually getting in front of the audience that you wanted to get in front of through this relationship? And so brands and teams can use that to say, like, is this working or not working? Do we need to pivot or not? And it's bringing a whole new aspect of this real-time ability to pivot if something's working or not working. I'll go back to a couple of years ago during the pandemic. Fans weren't back in the stadiums yet with the NFL. There was tarps that were put out with logos. The visibility on the logos on broadcast was absolutely horrendous. Like, they got terrible value as a result of it. And, I won't get into, but like, they were using camera angles to calculate the value with different companies from different stadiums, different sports, that equated to that terrible display. But what we realized was certain teams had access to cranes and camera crews. And some of the broadcasters, if they had their this is the primetime game, most visibility, they would bring their own. But certain teams had their own, and it would give access to the broadcast, even though they're not a high-performing team. And during the whistle breaks where they would do the score update and kind of go to commercial, they would do a crane facing down and get the visibility of it. And so, that helped other teams copy that model to get that same high visibility of that logo exposure as a result of it. So it's kind of, one, it's to measure that performance and the value in that aspect of it. But two, it's to also help increase the value as a result of what they're doing. But it's the ROI focus, it's the audience and ability to resonate focus on it. Those are the reasons why typically customers will come to us and work with us to kind of provide those insights.
So interesting. Also, what you said there with the camera angles with the NFL, there was a similar one in NHL for hockey, which I'm working more closely with. Yeah, that they started putting advertisements on helmets, for example, that they didn't have before, and then some fans thought that they're selling out, and it got like a bad rap. Some, of course, understood the reasons because they can't fill the stadium, so they're losing revenue, so they're trying to make up for that through that.
Yeah, it's saving jobs. I mean, like there's so many people that were furloughed, laid off within sports teams. This is an opportunity to continue to experience in the moments that you love, and they have to adapt and find ways to do it. We have a methodology that looks into the valuation. So we talked about social value and then the value to the brand. There's a couple aspects of weighted scoring that we do, like how many logos are being expressed at once. Because if there's 50 logos, your ability to recall what brands you're seeing is going to get lower, right? The people can see this, but is it central in the middle? Is it far in the back? All those are aspects to where that value and what that exposure is, the exposure time, how long that exposure is. So like if there's a logo here and it hides and comes back, is that 2 exposures? Is it 1 exposure? There's so many aspects to this to sort of look at and understand. And yeah, the helmet, we saw poor results, from certain teams of it when it first came out. But they got better. And then the other thing too is like, there's assets that are out there that are highly visible, non-game day that provide a lot of value, like practice jerseys, especially with the NFL and like the logos that are. So certain assets do get a ton of exposure during certain, that are different than maybe the game day itself. Now, not every brand is like hyper focused on what is my exposure value. They care more about like, are we expressed in that huge moment? So when Steph Curry, last season had 63 points in the game or something like that, and last 3-minute buzzer hit was Rakuten all over around him. Like that's a chest bump moment where you're just like, hell yeah, we were there at that moment and we were able to express it. They might not care about the value. That is an aspect that they do care about, but they want to know like how are they involved in that moment and how has that impacted how people think about that brand as a result through that connection. But it is certainly interesting. You're right. Some fans get honed in on you're changing the sacredity of the game and of like by branding these types of moments. But in order for the game to still be available, we need to find ways to monetize the experience that is provided.
Again, so interesting. And I hadn't really thought about the emotional part of how you are visible as a brand. So what you said, like if Steph Curry is scoring 63 points or what you said, and there is a picture from, his a dunk that he did, and then your brand is like right there. It feels more valuable for that because it's a huge moment and it brings something positive. But let's say someone jumps and then twists his ankle on his way down and he sits in agonizing pain, and then your brand logo is right there. Then might be reversed. That it's like it brings negative emotion.
Possibly, right? I mean, there's so much that's happening that's verbally and not verbally being expressed at those moments. And one aspect that we're seeing is this need for impact within the community. And Angel City FC is like one of the leading organizations that's championing this sort of like newfound sort of expression of partnerships of, no, we're not just going to do the typical things. We're actually going to impact our community and you're going to be a part of this movement. So, providing like DoorDash, they're a logo kit sponsor. They get this great, visibility of what they're doing, but then they also go and they fund and give money to women-based organizations and restaurants and help fund those sort of organizations. So impacting the LA market, what they're doing with Allbirds, like by giving shoes to people within the community. So like, people are becoming more and more hyper aware of we have to be more than just a logo that's being expressed. And honestly, the brand came to me and they just said that we want logos. My feedback is, no, you got to find your narrative within this fan day experience of like, why are you here and what is the role? You are a character within this movie. What is your role within? And are you Gandalf, where I'm going to get a little nerdy, where you're helping like Frodo, the fan is the main character. You're helping them experience that journey through the moment, or are you the main character within? You really want to be centered around the fan itself and how you help them fan in their moments where they care about most. But, there's great opportunities to be like connected to those winning moments and that emotion and passion that's involved with it. Because day to day, us as fans, maybe in our personal lives, we don't have those same wins, but if we can vicariously live through the athlete in the moment and through it, or watch DeMar Hamlin come back and just, from a life-changing moment and do those, we get so tied into these activities. And so it's just amazing. And it's important to know that like different fans will witness the same experience in the same moment and capture it differently. Are you talking to all those fans? Are you understanding how all those fans kind of take away from it? So you're absolutely right. There is another layer that's deeper within these moments that are happening that we're, trying to connect those dots too. And how do we, best express where the right role and where the right fit is for these brands and organizations?
Looking at the sports industry generally, how do you see NFTs, crypto, blockchain playing into this that we have talked about now?
Yeah, it's exciting. I think there's things that, we're in crypto winter right now. The industry in itself is a little bit impacted or significantly impacted by all the things that are going on, with FTX and things that are going. There's players in there that might be doing things the right way that, as a shame, they're like kind of connected to this. I'm really excited what Dapper Labs and some of these organizations are doing where they're connecting to a collectible moment. I think this is something it's a long-term game. That where people are going to get more and more aware and understanding of it. There was that surge that happened during the pandemic, and it's kind of not as exciting as it once was, but I think in certain moments it would be. Blockchain itself, there's so many things that can be built on it, and where I think the real moment is going to be is like there's like you even look at the the blue check on Twitter, right, or any of these platforms for verification. It's a digital like image, right? It's just but there's significance and status to tie to it. And so if we can connect those components of it, if we can give experiences based off an NFT or digital thing that you hold, or if we can fan within our community and we're awarded in some sort of way with a digital thing, and, there's aspects of that. And, gaming has been doing that with the different skins and things that they have within Fortnite, Call of Duty, and all these other games and expression. So I think we're still in the first quarter. I don't even think the first quarter is halfway done, right? And so, a lot of people want to dismiss it right now that I'm hearing just kind of feedback with it. And I think it's still too early to kind of like have a stamp on it of what it's going to be or what it's not going to be. I think if anything, we've seen that there is an opportunity for this, but the application of it is going to be the most important component of it. And even where we're seeing Chat GDP and all these other AIs and generative AIs that are happening, like Chat GDP is, a spicy autocomplete, right? Like you still need to prompt it. You still need to give it information and then it gives you what you have back, but then you've got to like hone it and tune it to what you need it to be. And these are tools that are going to help us kind of propel what we're doing. But the application of it is really where it becomes useful and how we leverage it. And so even us leveraging AI to do what we do between capturing logos, capturing assets, running OCR to understand the text within media content. Like it's the application of how we do it. And we sort of have like an AI funnel of like how we label and tag and automate that entire process where it seems magical to our clients, but we have, it's just, we're using these as tools in order to get what we want. So, with a hammer, you can build a house. With a hammer, you can injure someone. It's just how you use these tools to kind of get what you want. So I think it's exciting to see, audiences become more and more open to this. And I think as our fan bases age and are expressed digitally, my kids growing up, they're going to have an entirely different, way of how they expect the relationship with teams, sports brands to be. And I think that, these next generations are going to be more adaptable, will be more moldable to these sort of new applications of it.
Yeah, I would think so too. And also because you work with more traditional sports and esports. So on this aspect with the crypto and the blockchain and NFTs, do you feel like esports are more open to that? Because my feeling is sometimes that the more traditional sport might be a little bit, old fashioned when it comes to these type of things.
Yeah. The thing about gaming and esports is interesting is they're not very like there are some like, LA Thieves and like within Overwatch League and Call of Duty League that are regional based or influenced by cities, but essentially these are brands that are not really tied to a location in itself. And so it's a little bit more moldable of your alignment to these different organizations and like sort of how you fan, but it's more digitally savvy and digital focused. And it's to an audience that is a younger demographic that is tuning into it, that might be more susceptible to like digital engagement in that sort of way. So I definitely agree with you. And I think the other component is like the staff and organizations and the executive leadership as the younger generations kind of assume leadership roles within these organizations, their appetite for doing things that are leveraging newer technology is going to be a little bit more easier and palatable to leverage. And so, traditional sports will get there. And honestly, like sports is not the most innovative industry. A lot of these technologies are being expressed in other industries and kind of moving faster. But sports is certainly one of the most exciting ones because of the emotion and passion that's tied to it.
So on the social media side, we have seen what Gary Vee calls the TikTokification. And you said in an interview I heard that TikTok has opened their API. So can you explain a little bit what that means?
Yeah, so a couple things, and this is more about us, but we give the Dikembe Mutombo finger when it comes to scraping data. So everything we do is an established relationship with one of these social media platforms. We show them what we're doing. We get buy-in. We are trying to build something that's long-lasting. We want, if Zoomph was ever to shut its doors, the industry to feel its loss. That kind of distinctive difference we're trying to build here, and because of that, we want to do things. We want to take the stairs. We want to do things the hard way. We want to do it right. Now, TikTok, what they've done is amazing with the data and the For You algorithm, where it's user behavior generated based. The AI algorithm is different based on the different countries. There's been a lot of interesting interviews by the CEO and how they kind of have it set up and what they're doing. And there's a lot of politics and things that are associated with it. But they have not had a analytics API until just recently. And so we have that, and we're able to take that data and able to understand the brand exposure with it. Like NFL right now does not allow their teams to do partnerships across TikTok. So some of these leagues will have to wait. It's the same thing with Twitch before they can leverage those opportunities, but they're still looking at the data and understanding it. And essentially, we're a social listening platform that has AI tacked onto it. A lot of players in our space are just a database, and they run the AI through the database in itself. We're open. It could be sports. It could be music. I could pull Marcus's tweets. It doesn't matter. Like, we pull everything. We just put our blinders on, and we realize focus is a catalyst in order to achieve that. But what TikTok brings, it's an amazing reach platform. And honestly, this is more of my personal opinion with TikTok and maybe with even YouTube Short, is like the relationship that's built on it is not as strong as like your traditional sort of YouTube video kind of content creator and the community aspect of it, because these are great, like whether it's Instagram Reels or TikTok. I look at that as discovery reach engines. This is how you get in front of as many people as you can. And that's how their algorithms are sort of tweaked. Your Instagram stories and your YouTube might be for your fans that you already have. And so it's, if your stats, it's like sort of like, how do I expand my relationship with my current customers versus going out and winning new customers? So TikTok is really great for winning fans that are out there that might not know about you, experiencing you. And you see their content kind of differ on the team side of like how they express themselves. They get a little bit more wild and crazy when it comes to that, like the TCU football sort of content where it's all just like new video kind of edit stuff. It's more freedom of expression there. And sort of, I feel like those creators feel like they can have a little bit more expression and freedom without their bosses of higher up executives kind of seeing it and being like, I don't understand this shit, or whatever it might be. But TikTok is exciting because of that. And I look at TikTok as the evolution of television, where like a lot of these platforms have always been linear. You're following your timeline of who you follow. And now you see Twitter adopt what, the For You page of like, we're going to use our recommendation algorithm in order for you to see new things. As a brand, I think you really want that recommendation engine so that you're getting as many new people and you're being exposed and growing your reach and capabilities of it. But the numbers that TikTok produce is just absolutely insane. And the audience demo that they have is phenomenal. There's the whole political lens and all that has to be sort of sorted out and seen. But and I think a lot of it is for the first time, it's foreign agents that have a tool that, from my US lens and perspective, it's the first time another social platform from the outside, even though musically, that was kind of adapted and rolled into it, still an outside force that's kind of, so there's a lot of things to unpack with it. But as a reach engine, discovery engine, it's absolutely something that you have to use in your tool belt right now in order to grow your brand. And so it's really exciting to see the data that's being generated as a result of it.
Yeah, definitely. And I agree with you also. Of course, there are like political backgrounds of it as well. And that you said, like Twitter is following. So obviously, I mean, they're doing something right. And it's interesting to see on TikTok that serious brands, quote unquote, can act a little bit more freely and,
Yes.
joke around a bit more that they wouldn't
Duolingo.
do on.
Yeah. Yeah. Sort of, if you look at it at a high lens, it's your ability to talk to different groups of friends at different levels. So, it's like you express one way on Facebook, different way on Twitter, different way on TikTok. And so that's their way of sort of personalizing it. But obviously, the more personalized you can be, the better the engagement and receiver signal back is going to be back to you. So all for that, and very excited to see how teams like leverage these kind of capabilities and build more around it. Whether it's the portrait frame or the landscape frame of video content that they're sort of creating, like each platform will do better. Even myself, like I record usually in landscape mode with the content that I create, but I'm sort of like, I got to move the portrait mode just for discovering and growing and getting the reach that we have to be. But you're absolutely right. It's very exciting to see these different platforms that resonate. And there's more platforms that are coming out that are either doing well or not. And, it's, I'm blanking on the name, but, the one that shows what's in front of you and what's behind you at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm blanking too. I know
But the fact that
exactly
we're blanking on it says enough about it phased out as far as maybe to our age group, right? Maybe there's a generation listening to this be like, Amir, you old man, here's the name, but like, there's and then now I'm just thinking of blanking on it now. The audio one as well. It's like these platforms are adapting so quickly that you really have to create something that's unique within the marketplace that's IP based. Everyone's copying the different features, so. But yeah, it's exciting to say the least.
We're in the beginning of 2023 with all of these exciting things happening in the industry. What do you think when we close out this year? What would have been the most exciting story in sports on this topic, that we talked about?
Yeah, I think what's going to be interesting is the different new partnership verticals. It seems like every year there's like one Cinderella partnership vertical that seems to take off. And so whether it was cryptocurrency, either platforms or exchanges or the current, currency themselves. There was wine seltzer kind of before wine and seltzer that was kind of before that. Sports betting is kind of tied into that as well. I think generative AI is going to be an interesting category that's going to emerge. And typically it's like once a company gets Series B or Series C funding, they want to go use that money for marketing capabilities and really focus on growth. In order to, show the results back to their investors of like how they're growing within it. So that's where investors are looking at. So that's like my way of sort of looking at it is like whatever investors are looking at is going to be the next wave or next vertical that's going to be taking off within it. And you saw that the LA Rams just recently made an AI sort of partnership. So I think there's going to be more to come with that. Just on a high level, just focusing just on that. That's what I think will be pretty interesting. I think there's a lot of exciting trends that are happening. Women's sports specifically, you've had some guests here recently that have been talking about just that. And honestly, it's, oh my God, everyone's been saying if you give women's sports the same amount of attention, they will flourish with it. And you're absolutely seeing it, right? You water the plant's going to grow. And we're seeing that kind of capability and within it. And there's so much opportunity there is to that. So I've certainly got my eyes on that. And then you've also seen the narrative and long form storytelling that started with, it didn't start with it, but Drive to Survive was really the lightning rod that kind of was such a huge moment for it. And you see Point Break, Full Swing on Netflix. But I think these organizations in sports are finally seeing the light bulb moment that if we create content, and really it's like you've got to educate people on the narrative and the relationships. Something that opened me up to gaming is like I watched this like, okay, this player went to that team and there's a dynamic behind it. Because now you understand the game, you have an ability to care about the game. And so the more education we're doing about the people behind and the value that athletes are providing, it's another category that's going insane that's super exciting. And then OTT and broadcast and that sort of like established component that's happening. So like Fox had the Super Bowl. It was on linear TV that you can go and express that. You could watch it on YouTube and all these sort of like, VOD and live linear, but they also had the ability to stream it on the Fox Sports app. And the app is giving you different, more data about the user, because once you go into OTT, you can see, they'll ask you, at least on your iOS device, can we see what other devices that are on your network? And people typically say yes. So they know what device you're looking at. Are you watching from your iPad or your TV? What other apps do you have? What other web history do you have? So you're going to see more and more, while streaming is a fragmented and much lower number, you're going to see so much more information about that user. And the other thing we're seeing is connected TVs, I think, is up over 40%. And so while social ads are going down, now we're getting ads on our YouTube TV, Hulu, and other watch experiences that we're having through streaming apps. And the data that's being surfaced through that is super exciting to see. While we thought linear is going down, sports is still, level, and if not growing, with the viewership that is happening. And the younger ages, we're getting more information about that younger demo that we think that is tuning out. Oh, you probably got to tease me. I'll stop. There's so many exciting trends that are happening right now that are sort of unraveling, unflowing right before us as we're seeing it. But I really do feel like sports this is its moment within our society and within our culture. And I think the thing that really drove that is COVID taking it away, not being able to experience it, not being able to watch, not being able to go in person. All of that just made it realize how interweaved this is in the fabric of our lives. And now you're seeing the world sort of demand it and want it. And we're seeing pickleball, and we're seeing these other niche sports kind of evolve and come out of it. And that's because there is interest, there is activity around it. And, we joke around pickleball, but there's actually something seriously there, and it's growing as a capability as a result of it. But the main thing is that connection that we have as humans to these moments of competition and celebration and sadness and stories, and how we connect through. So, I get very poetic about it, but there's so many things that are happening right now within this industry. This is the industry to be in right now with all these changes that are happening, and you see everyone flooding towards it. So it's a very exciting time for me. And historically, I don't come from this space. I'm an outsider. I've been in sports for over 10 years, but I still have a little bit of an accent. It was more, when I first started, I was doing things. I won't go into the full story, but it's getting more. I used to work with everyone, brands, this, that. We used to do social media activations and experiences, and we pivoted into partnerships and got really focused into sports. But it's just amazing to watch how this industry is just compounding and the momentum that's happening within it.
Yeah, for sure. But if we can stay on the women's sport for a while, because you are very involved with the women's sport. You are in the Women's Sports Executive Network with the Sports Innovation Lab, and also you are a board member of WIST, Women in Sports Tech, and I've spoken to Mary Lou McFarlane before on this podcast. Amazing. So yeah, amazing things that both of these networks do. But can you tell a little bit about your involvement with them?
Yeah, so happy to, and you'd have to be an idiot not to be excited about women's sports or more women being employed in sports. For me, it's a no-brainer. It's completely selfish on the WIST side. So Women in Sports Tech, a great organization helping bring diversity within the front office and sports tech industry. And I mean, hey, the numbers are out. If wake up, right? The more diverse your team is, the better you are going to be, and the more wins you'll have. And so for me, if I can be involved with WIST, we looked at our situation. We're like, got a lot of dudes here. And then the feedback was, well, we put out the job recs as all guys that, apply, and that is what it is. And, it was enough is enough. We've got to draw the line. We've got to do more to get what we want. And so I reached out to WIST, I reached out to WISE, and I was just like, hey, we're a startup. We don't have a lot of money right now, but we want to make an impact. And they responded. And, originally it was just a partner with them, and we got to participate in their fellowship. But you go back, listen to the Mary Lou McFarlane episode, and you're going to see how passionate she is. And it was just a lightning rod, and how engaged I've become as it. It was, I was helpless to the momentum that I was experiencing there and not want to be a bigger part of it. So we'll absolutely encourage anyone, even our competitors. I'm like, what are you doing? Get in here. Doesn't matter if we compete. This is an opportunity for all of us to win and get better at. And so we need more people of color in this industry. We need more people of gender and different sexual orientation. Everyone brings a different aspect and layer of how they're thinking. Even within our team, I celebrate even the negative thinkers. It's easy to have someone on your team that kind of is like, oh, that's not a good idea because of this, and that. And I'm like, okay, good, good. You're bringing this effort. It annoyed me in my career that you'd have a negative person in the room. But then I realized you have to embrace that. You have someone internally thinking of all the things that could go wrong, and you want to think about those things as you go out. So it's like even how the way people think positively and negatively, like how they kind of do things, all of that is like absolutely important to kind of bring in. So WIST has been amazing. There's like no ROI. It's like kind of priceless, our involvement with it. But if there's any sort of ability for anyone in this organization to help bring other people in, this next generation is super exciting. The seeing that who's coming in is real solid. We've had the most amazing fellows. I've tried to hire every single one of them. Some of them wanted to be more on the player analytics side. So I understand where they got to be where they're passionate about. And some of them wanted to continue school, and I'll be patiently waiting for them and trying to hire them when they get back. But our diversity within our organization has changed tremendously as a result. And then we get so many talented women that are applying. So if you're in the business and you're out here, get involved, become a partner. It will transform the talent. Some of these roles we put out, we get 400 emails, resumes coming through, and it's mind blowing. Every human is awesome that's applying. They might not be the right awesome we're looking for at the moment, but it's just grateful to be as part of this and being able to get all this amazing talent. And then women's sports as well. Have to be an idiot not to see the momentum. And what's crazy about it is like the different type of fan that they bring in, because those fans fan differently. One is there's no such thing as a lazy women's sports fan. You have to go out of your way to sort of identify where this content is being expressed. And so whether it's on Twitch or that or this, they have their own communities that are educating people on where to go and do this because of all the obstacles that they've had to do. So it's really formed such an amazing niche audience. And it's very similar to esports. They celebrate sponsorships. And when you sponsor women's sports, they will spend their dollar with you as a thank you back, right? Like there's countless stories of brands like Bud Light that would, a couple of years ago when the NWSL championship was in Chicago, like you couldn't get a Bud Light because so many women were like buying these at the bar, and men too that are fans of these sports. Like I absolutely enjoy watching women's soccer. It's in women's hockey, Premier Hockey Federation. It's just amazing what they're building and doing, and the different type of fan that they're bringing out and expressing to it. That is something for brands to look at. That, and we did some interesting studies and reports with some of the agencies that we work with, even Drone Racing League, that not necessarily women, but like a different avenue. Like you're not fans of Drone Racing League that you're engaging with. You're not going to get them by sponsoring all the other sports, right? And so by getting involved with men's and women's sports, you're getting a more coverage of a map that you might be missing or not being able to get in front of. And then, secret, unveiled, spoiler alert, these fans will appreciate you significantly more than the men's sports fans do, because they are looking for this moment and opportunity. So you see constantly the numbers being broken, whether it's fans, attendance, whether it's viewership, almost over 1 million in NWSL. Excited what Jessica Berman is building over there and how she's putting in the procedure and elements to it, and WNBA expanding. It's just there's too much to dismiss, and they've been dismissed for way too long. So very excited about those opportunities as well.
And I think it was interesting what you said that with the fans of women's sport. I think it was Caroline Fitzgerald from Goal Sport who basically said exactly the same, that like the fans of women's sports have had to go through so many obstacles to watch the sport that they love because it's not on the mainstream media. And they have become this like really strong community, and they are much more invested in sponsorship, like everything that you said now.
Yeah, Angela Ruggiero has also been a good. So Caroline, you got to follow Caroline in Goal Sport. Absolutely amazing. There's like 50 stickers in the back there. I don't know if you can see them or if people are listening in, but like she's an amazing person. Katie Donovan is an amazing person. She's over at the WNBA Road. Angela Ruggiero, that we just mentioned, the Sports Innovation Lab, Olympian gold medalist, women's hockey. What they're doing at Sports Innovation Lab is phenomenal, using transactional data, kind of expressing that. I love what Haley and Rosen's doing over at Just Women's Sports, being this news platform that allows women's sports to be the highlight and focus of it. Their podcasts and content that they're generating is just absolutely phenomenal. You're seeing more women's sports related shows, broadcast media companies. There's so much. Billie Jean King, who's been a absolute, not only just impacting her sport as an athlete from when she was, but what she is doing today. She has her own fund. She's partnered with a number of funds to bring money to these industries and companies that are making an impact. So we work with a number of groups. Angel City is one of those groups, Premier Hockey Federation. Just so amazing to kind of see the data and how different it is. But it is absolutely something that is growing and growing. And for brands, this is the capitalist in me, the business end me. You'll never get a deal as good as now because most people don't realize how good it is. So like take advantage of this opportunity and leverage this moment, because once people start really unpacking and seeing like the value of this, you're going to have to pay a lot more for what you have to pay for today. So, and the last thing I'll say is like, we've done sort of like athlete marketability reports. And what we tried to do is strip away the typical sponsorship, like how many reach, impressions, followers, and really focus on the quality of the audience that they have using the audience analytics stuff that we do. And it's like the relationship that women athletes have with their fans on social. They're better spokespeople of the brands because they understand it's a huge moneymaker for them. In some sports, their social media deals are making more money than they are with their athlete sort of deal that they have with the team and sport that they have. So it's like there's such great stewards of brands and how they bring the brands in and tell the stories that they do. It's a shame that more brands don't take advantage of this, but it's exciting. You can tell I'm very passionate about it, but it's a no-brainer for me. This is not a charity. This is not a token. This is, let's make some fucking money. This is the opportunity. And there's an opportunity absolutely here that's being uncovered. And there's so many great champions of it that I follow, all of those women that you sort of mentioned. And it's exciting. We definitely want to be a bigger player and role as a part of all of it.
That's great to hear. And definitely it's, I've talked about that before on the podcast also, that women's sports is it's a business opportunity and it's a great investment and it's not a charity.
You nailed it, man. You nailed it. And by all the past guests you have, I know you've absolutely, you've amassed a great audience and people that people should go back and listen to some of these episodes if they're coming for the first time, but shame on them if they are. There's a lot of great content that I've been listening to and excited to go back and listen to Mary Lewis as well.
I appreciate that. And some of the names that you said there as well, Jessica Berman and Angela Ruggiero and all of this, I mean, that's great potential future guests as well that I would be happy to talk about.
100%. Andrea Brimmer over at Ally and what they're doing in their investment, how they impacted CBS to display the game on linear broadcast. I mean, there's so many champions that are here that need to tell their story and for audiences to understand the opportunity. So happy to connect, and I'm sure they'll be delighted to amplify the moment in history that's being written in front of us. Yeah.
You mentioned briefly before that you have been in this industry for a couple of years, but you haven't like always been in sports. So can you just give us a little bit, a short backstory of your career and how you ended up where you are now?
Yeah, no, happy to. I'll make it quick. It takes a few beers to tell, but and I'm sure hopefully one day we'll have some beers together to talk about that and other things. But basically, never really knew what I wanted because what I wanted the industry wasn't there yet, right? Like I went to school, my family is all doctors. I'm the son that tweets, right? And this is like 2010, 2011, never really resonated. They want to be a doctor, be a lawyer, be something, right? And psychology was something that really spoke to me. And when social media, it was AIM and AOL that really took off for me. A real big throwback there to people that remember AIM. And that was where it fascinated me and it was originally with the statuses that you can kind of, and then it evolved into Facebook. But like when you say a certain message, when you put out a certain signal, the receiver is different in the reactions that you can get. If you say something negative, you get more comments. If you say something positive, then you get more likes. And like how you can sort of like play with that ability to like shift how people react based off the message. It's the same message, but how you deliver it could receive a different reaction. And so I argue social media is more psychology than technology anyways, but I was a big music pirater back in the day, LimeWire, Napster, Rapid Share, forums, stuff like that. We used to get 200,000 hits on our website a month, and I got shut down by the FBI. And so that was a really scary kind of moment for me. I was like applying to different grad schools, but Georgetown had this program for new media. And I went in, I didn't have the grades. I used to party, do all that stuff. I wasn't motivated. I wasn't passionate. And I showed them my results of my web traffic from my blogger, all the things that I would kind of do, blogging, real throwback. And so they looked at the data and I was like, look, I want to go legit, put Georgetown inside of my rocket ship and I want to build something here in social media. I know what it can be. At the time, it was like, you want to share your lunch? Like, what is that going to, But I was doing odd jobs. I worked for senators. I worked for pest control, arguably very similar demographic. But and I was at a bar telling advice to my different friends, found someone that had their cousin that was at MetroStar, and that was the CEO, Ali Manacheri. They're like, I got to connect you guys. So Zoomph spun out of MetroStar. That was an agency. I am not an entrepreneur. I'm an intrapreneur. I was given an opportunity within the company, and I was able to take this thing that we had and make it something bigger. And Ali saw that capability and opportunity with me and Nick, my other co-founder, and three of us. And there have been other people along the way that made Zoomph where it is today, and we wouldn't be there without them. So Zoomph shifted, but originally we did projects with the State Department. We would look at speeches before, during, and after. We would have some wild conversations of if there's someone that's in Witness Protection Act, can we see their geolocation somewhere they shouldn't be? Can we alert the authorities so we can get them safe? Real, social media today, we're now seeing where it's evolved as a weapon of information and disinformation, but have always been kind of tied into the government kind of component. We've done things with tweet walls, with the Obama administration, really cool things. And so we were originally a fan engagement tool. And, credit to the only this is over at Monumental Sports. And they saw what we were doing with the government, and they pulled us in to do social media walls and sort of microsites about the game. So we pulled tweets in from fans, engaged content from the teams. And this was maybe 2014, 15, 16-ish that we were kind of doing this stuff. And we just kept listening to our customers. And we say, we don't celebrate unicorns, we celebrate cockroaches. We did whatever it took to get to the next day. And we found every way that did not work, Marcus. We failed and failed and failed and failed. Everyone said, Amir, what are you doing? You're crazy. You've been here so long. But there was something there. We kept chasing it. And we saw it just right around the corner. And around 2018, fast forward a bunch of failures and a lot of things that kind of got us there. But it was that resilience that kept us going. But it was the Cowboys. And they're like, look, we don't want to visualize any of your tweets or Instagram. We're actually selling social media as part of our partnership deal. And this would be an easy way for us to organize it. And we actually told them no at first. And they were like, are you stupid? You know who we are? And we were like, okay, you're right. Let's try it. But in our heads, we're like, we're marketers. We're not sales guys. This is against everything that we kind of stood for at the moment. But then we and it kind of felt like things were falling apart, but actually things were falling in place. And so we crushed it at that. There was nothing like us to be able to tag and organize at that time. And then MSG knocked on our door and they're like, we heard you got this audience data. We want to show with our partners, by working with us, this will grow over time. That was another aha moment. And we said, hell yeah, this is it. 2019, let's go after partnerships. This is what we are. And so we just revamped our entire product and went after this. And NASCAR was one of the first companies that gave us a shot, and the smartest group, the most intelligent people there, and they believed in us. And we helped build an amazing solution with them. And the pandemic happened. We were like, well, we're done. That's it. Sports is, we don't know if we're going to do this, if we're going to survive this. And, funny enough, social media became the number one asset. And so teams looked at us, and when that was a catalyst moment, probably the most heartfelt, hardest moment to kind of get through, but they trusted us to help guide them out and help tell brands what they're doing well and what needs to be. And so that moment was a catalyst and helped us grow to where we are today. So it's a long journey of how we got here. I have been working with sports for 10 different years, but I joke that I'm an outsider and I have an accent and I'm still trying to learn it. And our entire team is, and on the old product, we did all this stuff. We still have customers using our old product, and I love them. We wouldn't be here without them. But we did everything and anything from, if you go to Coca-Cola and all their social media walls in their lobbies, that's us, right? But today, what we're doing with partnerships, that's all we're focused on as a product today and what we've been building. And that's been so exciting. And so it's been amazing. And our employees are people from the agencies, from the teams, from the league. So they have no accent when they talk back to the clients and stuff that what they're building. So we have this perfect engagement between technologists and people from the industry. And the one thing that we look at for people on our team that's a huge outlier of what brings people to Zoomph is we're looking for people with chips on their shoulders, people that just haven't had that ability to do what they've been wanting to do, to be able to be just, you're free, go do what you were built to do. And what we try to do is be very cognizant of what you're awesome at and what you suck at. And if you suck at something, then let's bring someone that's awesome at that and pair it with you. So we sort of have this like Avengers, like how nerdy am I? I'm talking about Avengers. We talked about Gandalf and but like, all my examples that are going here, but like we just have this Avengers like team atmosphere. We're only 28 people, but everyone at every role in our company, I believe, could one day be a CEO of another company, but is the best at what they do with what they do. And so again, back to how we started, my role today is just move things out of their way and let them do what they do best and keep being a siren to bring other people in of, right now we need people for infrastructure and AWS and what we're building because, we're going into broadcast. We're doing an amazing opportunity once in a lifetime that I can't even talk about it right now because of all the legality around it. But like we have something that is going to be the next game changing thing that's about to happen. Hopefully I can point back to this podcast when it's out and I can say that's when our lives changed. And that's how we got to where we are. And I'm excited to use this as a piece of my history, Marcus. And I thank you for bringing me on and allowing me to tell our story. But just is so exciting. And I'm so excited that my journey has brought me within sports. But at the end of the day, like I said, it's more psychology than it is technology. It's understanding what brings us together and why we're here and why these stories are so important to who we are and how we identify with.
Well, that's one hell of a story, man, and how that got in your, the history up until where we are. And I really hope we can meet in person sometime and have that beer and go through that story even more. And so great to hear that you have exciting things coming up. And I would love to do, a 2.0 version of this one later on when you have launched to, see how it's going.
First round on me, and maybe when we get that beer. Yeah, we'll do the next episode. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No problem. I was just going to say, before we sign off here, is there something I haven't asked you yet that you feel is important to mention?
That's such a great question. And shame on me for not being prepared to think about it. I guess I'll say like one thing that gets me going and why we do what we do and what's like special about the team that we have is one aspect of us that just blows my mind is the parents of our employees that interact with us, that champion and cheerlead for us. Like I've never been in maybe it's like where we are as a society or like the age of parents of like how they kind of get involved and interact. But like the parents of our employees are our biggest cheerleaders. They retweet us, they share us, they send opportunities. Sometimes it's like absolutely not helpful at all. And sometimes it's really helpful, right? But it's like crazy that we get to make this type of impact and everything that we do. It's like, we're 28 people right now. We're hiring for 2 roles, right? But like, it's like 30 families are impacted by every decision that we make. And so again, like we're trying to build something huge, but like, that's the thing that just kind of blows me away of just like how this went from an idea and the idea has shifted so many times, but now it's like thing that's rallying people and even their families are so tied into like what we're doing. And I don't know if that's what you meant as far as the question, but it builds significance to me of like why we are doing what we're doing and how important it is and how it's resonating to, more than just the team members of where we are. So again, like we're trying to build something that is going to last the test of time, something that is distinctively different, something that if it was ever to end, the world would mourn. And that's where we go on and deploy what we do. But, seeing this sort of interacting connection that we have here and what we're building, I hope someone will hear this and say, like, that's what I'm looking for. That's what I want to be a part of. And we're growing. And very soon we'll be growing extremely quickly and fast. And we're going to need the best of the best people here. But just to, appreciate the opportunity to be on this with, I definitely brought your average down with the quality of guests that you have, but excited to be in the
for
group
sure not.
And bring others. But you've done such a great job of the research that you do, the questions that you ask. And if you're a listener and you're listening in, pat on the back because you're listening to great content, and I appreciate you guys listening to me as well.
Thank you, Amir. I really appreciate that. And you by no means are lowering the standards of this podcast. On the contrary, I feel like you raise it up and bringing all of these very interesting insights that you have from your career. But before I let you go, last question that I ask everyone. If you can choose the next guest on this podcast, who do you think I should talk to?
Yeah. Oh man. I came in thinking Mary Lou McFarland. Shame on me. I didn't do my research like you do. That's a really great question. Have you talked to anyone from Angel City yet? I feel like their story needs to be told at a bigger platform because I really do feel that every organization at some point is going to adopt their model of community impact. And a lot of them already are. I mean, it's the number one growing question, but I have like 50 people I want to connect you with that I feel like, and you can be like Amir and subscribe, but Julie Erman is someone that I'm really excited about what she's doing. Reagan Carey over at Premier Hockey Federation as well, like her coming in. Jessica Berman, what she's doing with National Women's Soccer League, taking an opportunity and a platform and creating a foundation around it. It was very shaky when she came in, and she's cementing something that's going to last the test of time, I believe, as well. So I could not think of more people to bring and stories that they can bring to you, and excited to bring some other guests along the way. There's so many great storytellers. Yeah, I have a list of people. Just feel free to be like, Amir, unsubscribe, go away, and block me with all the list of people. But you're such a great way of bringing these stories to life. So appreciate the questions that you brought and allowing me to reflect. And hopefully the audience can learn a thing or two from the scars that I have and not get those same wounds.
For sure. Amir, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the Sports Management Podcast. This was great.
Thank you for having me, Marcus. Can't wait to catch up with you soon enough.
Thank you for listening to the Sports Management Podcast. Please hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any upcoming episodes. Also, feel free to leave a comment about what you thought about this episode. If you want to get in contact with me, send an email to sportsmpodcast@gmail.com or hit me up on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram @sportsmpodcast.